Practice, doesn't have to just be about woodshedding, your scales and chords and modes and stuff like that. It can be, of course. And if that's the stuff you're working on, Mick Goodrick talks about ways to organize your practice time in his book, The Advancing Guitarist. I don't have it here to hold up, but if I did, I would. He mentions things that are interesting, like the fact that there are 12 keys, 12 major keys and 12 minor keys. And there's 12 months in the year. So you could, January could be the key of C. February could be the key of C sharp. March could be the key of D, and so on. And so you could organize your time on the calendar. Likewise, there are 7 days in the week, and there are 7 modes in each of the common, major, and minor scales. So if you're working on major scale modes, Monday could be Ionian, Tuesday could be Dorian, and so on. If you're working on melodic minor modes or harmonic minor modes, any scale that has 7 notes, there's 7 days in the week. That's a possible way you could organize your time, and so on. So that's a neat book to check out anyway. But in this, what we're talking about right now, I just wanted to mention that. But besides those things, scales and chords and whatever, transcribing is a really good way to spend your practice time. So I would make that part of your practice time. And I've said this here before, and I'll say it again. I think transcribing tunes may be even more valuable than transcribing solos. If you're into, Pat Metheny or Julian Lage or whoever you're into, sure, transcribe some of their solos, but also transcribe, make charts of some of their tunes. When you're transcribing a solo, you're transcribing something that's happening in the heat of the moment. Everything in the solo may not make total sense because, things don't necessarily add up. Somebody might play a scale over a chord that doesn't make sense to you in any logical way. It may have made sense in the moment of whatever's happening. And if you start to overanalyze, like, oh gosh, this scale is happening over this chord, I don't understand, it's confusing. It's exciting, but it can be confusing. Whereas tunes tend to be a little more sensible and well organized. And also, the more tunes you transcribe, the more tunes that you can play with other people. If you show up at a jam session or a gig or whatever with a chart of a transcription you made, nobody's going to want to play the transcription with you. But if you've got a tune to play, that can be something that everybody plays. I also would recommend using some of your practice time for composing. Composing is where you really begin to find your own voice. What kinds of melodies are you hearing? What kinds of chord progressions are you hearing? What kinds of rhythms are you hearing? You can write them down and make a tune out of them. So